Have you ever watched a video and thought, why does this look like a movie? And then you shoot your own footage and it just looks off. This is the same camera, the Sony FX30, but one version looks smooth, cinematic, and almost effortless. The other feels like a shaky behind-the-scenes vlog. So what's the difference? Today I'm breaking down one of the most important yet misunderstood tools in filmmaking: the gimbal. I'm going to show you exactly when and why to use a gimbal with the Sony FX30, and when you might want to ditch it and go handheld instead. Plus, I've got some hidden tricks and real-world demos that you won't see in a lot of other videos. So let's dive in. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Dave from Post Street Studios. Subscribe if you like this type of content and check out the links in the description below. I've got a free ebook you can download and some other cool stuff. I try to post a video every week on the Sony FX30 and the gear I use, Adobe Premiere editing, and using tools like ChatGPT and vidIQ, all designed to help you speed up your workflow and create a better YouTube channel. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably watched 100 videos on camera gear, and they don't always show you what the gear feels like in action. Today, I want to do something a little different. I'm not just going to talk specs. I'm going to take you into the shot, side by side, so you can see the difference between handheld and gimbal shooting with the FX30. Whether you're filming content for clients, building your YouTube channel, or just trying to level up your visuals, knowing when and how to use a gimbal can completely change your workflow and your results. And I'll share a few things I've learned along the way that a lot of people don't talk about. Stuff that can save you time, frustration, and maybe even a shoot. Let's get into it. I'm shooting this with the Sony FX30, one of my favorite cameras for video. It's compact, powerful, and it's got a super clean image. And it has in-body stabilization and it's very solid, especially for handheld work. But here's the thing, even with IBIS, there are times when you just want that buttery smooth floating look that gives you the drone footage effect. That's where the DJI RS3 gimbal comes in. This gimbal pairs beautifully with the Sony FX30, not just because it handles the weight easily, but it also lets you move in ways that would almost be impossible handheld. Smooth push-ins, reveal shots, tracking movement, low-angle fly-throughs, you name it. There are so many different shots available with the gimbal. If you're using lightweight lenses and keeping your setup tight, the RS3 gives you a ton of creative freedom without feeling bulky or overkill. So this video isn't just about gear, it's about how to use this combo to get pro-level results and knowing when to reach for it and when to leave it in the bag. Now let's get into the fun part, real-world examples. What you're about to see is the same camera, same settings, same lens, but one shot handheld and the other shot on the gimbal. Let's start with a simple walking shot. See the difference? The handheld version has a raw, natural feel, but there's a lot of micro shake. The gimbal smooths everything out and it feels like you're gliding. Now let's try a panning shot. Handheld, you can see every bump in my movement. With the gimbal, that same motion feels polished, almost like a crane move. But here's the thing, handheld isn't wrong. It gives a certain energy. It can feel more intimate, more immediate, especially if you're going for a documentary or behind the scenes vibe. Now check this out, a creative reveal move. This is where the gimbal shines. It's extremely difficult to pull off moves like this handheld, at least not without a ton of practice and post-stabilization. But the other thing we have to remember is gimbals aren't magic. They don't fix bad composition. They don't fix lighting. And if your feet are heavy, your shots will look off, just smoothly off. So it's not about which one's better, it's about what you're trying to create. All right, let's talk about some stuff most videos leave out. Because owning a gimbal is one thing. Actually knowing when and how to use it, that's a whole different story. Here's what most people don't tell you. Number one, the gimbal confidence trap. Just because your shot is smooth doesn't mean it looks good. If your framing is off or your lighting is bad, a gimbal won't save you. Smooth and boring is still boring. Number two, micro jitters. Even on a gimbal, if your footwork isn't solid, you'll still get little bumps in your footage, especially on a tighter lens. One thing about the RS3 is that it does a little overcorrection thing that I don't like seeing in my footage, and it takes some practice to get used to it. For a while, I put the gimbal down altogether because I got so sick of it. The workaround I found for this is to spend some time using it to feel how it corrects and then tweak the speed settings a bit. Spend some extra time where you don't have to worry about what you're shooting, but focus only on the movement and how it reacts. Let me know in the comments if you've had this happen to you. Number three, audio matters. If you're filming something where you're capturing live audio like interviews or ambient sound, you might want to use a gimbal to eliminate any bumps or shakes that get picked up by your mic. Handheld rigs can sometimes introduce some unwanted noise. And finally, gimbals slow you down. If you're in a fast-paced shoot and you need to move quickly, handheld wins every time. Setup and balance take time, sometimes too much time. So here's the real deal. The gimbal is a creative tool, not a crutch. We need to know its strengths, know its weaknesses, and use it intentionally. So now the big question, when should you use a gimbal and when should you leave it in the bag? Here's how I think about it. If I'm shooting cinematic B-roll, client footage, or anything that needs to feel polished, clean, and professional, I'm reaching for the gimbal every time. That dreamy floating look is hard to beat. But if I'm filming something raw or fast-paced or documentary style, I go handheld, especially when I want the viewer to feel like they're in it with me. One situation is running. The gimbal allows me to get a decent shot while I'm running. If you've ever filmed a runner or a cyclist or a skateboarder, sometimes you need to get a running shot. Check out this side-by-side. Here's another point of view shot that would be extremely difficult to get without a gimbal. Sometimes the handheld look is what brings the authenticity. So don't get stuck thinking one is better than the other. They're just different tools for different jobs. All right, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few quick tips to help you get the most out of the DJI RS3 when you're pairing it with the Sony FX30. First, balance matters. Even if you're only changing a lens, rebalance your gimbal. It'll perform better and it'll save motors in the long run. Second, use a wider lens. A wider lens helps you when you're shooting handheld or gimbal. It reduces how much shake you see in the footage, and it also gives you the ability to crop in post if necessary. Try a few different lenses to see what works for you in specific shots. Third, underslung mode is your secret weapon. You can get really cool shots at low angles that are pretty much impossible handheld. You can use a monopod to extend your gimbal like I'm doing in this shot here. Fourth, slower is better. The more you rush your movement, the harder it is for the gimbal to keep up. Take your time, glide, and think in terms of rhythm. So whether you're shooting handheld, using a gimbal, or a little bit of both, what matters most is how intentional you are with your shots. It's not about using every tool, it's about using the right one for the story you want to tell. If this video helped you out or gave you a new way to think about shooting with the FX30, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe for more behind the scenes filmmaking content, Adobe Premiere tutorials, and other tools for writing content, and check out the links in the description for all the gear that I use here at Post Street Studios, and check out my free ebook on client filmmaking as well. Got questions? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to help however I can. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.